So with me this evening, again, we've done a couple of lives, is Simon Borg-Olivier. I'm delighted to chat with Simon anytime I can. He's just a wealth of knowledge. And here he is.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Can you see me okay?
I can. If we can get a little more of your face would be great.
Let me see.
There,
How about
there we go. There we go. Yep, right
like
about there, somewhere in around there.
that should work better, I think, maybe.
Yep, that's great.
Okay, first thing in the morning.
I know. Good morning. Well, it's good evening for me. Good morning to you. So with me today is Simon Borg-Olivier. And Simon, I'm going to actually ask you to start with you telling us about your bio.
My bio.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I've been working on hacking the body, if you like, if that's a popular term now, all my life. You know, my father first introduced me to underwater swimming when I was 6 years old. He was a free diver. So the thing he gave me when I was 6 years old was, it's all about learning how not to breathe. In the modern world, we hear all the time, you should breathe more. But actually for me, in my youth and all the way through my life, it's been about learning how not to breathe. And the longer you can go without air, the better. But
Saving the
I
breath.
love, yes, exactly, yes. Yeah, to me, this is eventually the pranayama that I did with people like, Mr. Iyengar and Patabi Joyce and other teachers in India. I've just come back from my 28th trip to India, and I've had a passion for yoga all my life. And eventually, in my about 30 years ago, I decided to try and synthesize it a bit more with the Western understanding of the body. So I went back to university and I became a physiotherapist as well. And I've been exploring the body for the last 55 years. And I have a great passion for it. And I love sharing it with you. It's good.
Well, okay. So I'm gonna recap this. So Simon is a world-renowned yoga teacher, okay, and he has studied, as he said, 40 plus years. He also has a scientific background in being a physiotherapist. But in terms of context of our conversation today, and you touched upon it just briefly, Simon, talk about some of the people that you've studied with, because I mean, some of the people may not even know some of the masters that you've studied with, and give a little context, one, of who you studied with and their impact on what modern day yoga has evolved into.
Very interesting. Yeah. The two most well-renowned people that I studied with were BKS Iyengar and Sri K. Patabi Joyce. And those two had a profound impact on modern yoga. I think some of the most common practices of modern yoga, one of the most common expressions is vinyasa flow.
Yeah.
And the word vinyasa, of course, came from what Patabi Joyce was sharing to a certain extent. Obviously, it's an old word, but it became popularized with his Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, which he talked about being a garland of poses, a fluid sequence of practice. And BKS Iyengar at the time, although he practiced that sort of yoga in his youth, and, there's some great videos which really inspired me of seeing Mr. Iyengar do incredible practices in his youth. By the time I was spending time with him from the 1980s onwards, 1980s, 1990s, he was teaching a lot more therapeutic yoga, and it was a lot more slow and a lot more alignment based. And so it became very popular, and he had quite a following at the time and all around the world. He still has to a certain extent, but it became what they called often alignment based yoga, and was very intelligent. And Mr. Iyengar would spend up to 3 hours giving detailed explanation about how to do one posture. And it was very interesting.
How to move your 3 hours on how to move your big toe.
Yes. Everyone, 80 people gathered around him on a stage watching how to move his big toe. All very, very interesting and very, very enlightening stuff. But as the years went on, and especially in the modern age of the 3-second quick fix 21st century Instagram world, people were less keen to listen for that long. They just wanted to have a workout. So somewhere toward the end of the 1980s, myself and other people similar to me realized that we love doing Iyengar yoga. because it was very alignment based and very intelligent. But we also loved Ashtanga Vinyasa flow because it was very dynamic and very fluid. And so people started to realize that the Iyengar stuff was too much of a head trip for most people, too much detail, too much listening, not enough doing for many people. And the Ashtanga Vinyasa flow was just way too difficult for most
Yeah.
people. So, hang on a second, my camera's about to die. Fix it up again. 6. So what we started to do was merge the two together, and people created what now commonly is called Vinyasa Flow. We called it Yoga Synergy because when myself and my business partner, Bianca Matchless, both of us had done physiotherapy, and we decided that we needed to create something which had a synthesis of what BKS Iyengar and Sri K. Patabi Joyce had offered, but also with an understanding of the modern Western body. So we
Mhm.
put it together with our physiotherapeutical understandings. So we made something which was synthetically viable.
Mhm.
And that's, something I've taught for the last 30 or 40 years. But unfortunately, many people just took it and went, let's just take a little bit of alignment cues. Let's just take a little bit of flowing postures, stick them together, call it vinyasa flow, but it doesn't usually work like that. You have to have a very good understanding of both systems before you can put them together. And it helps. We were lucky to have such great teachers from the West who taught us about the body, especially things like physiotherapy. I also did other degrees in biology as well,
Mhm.
and did years of massage training and stuff like this. And this eventually means you can bring together the two systems in some sort of way. Uh, Unfortunately, of course, very few people have even heard of Iyengar and Patabi Joyce in this day and age, let alone have studied with them. So unfortunately, one of the things that saddened me immensely was that in the late 1990s, companies like Yoga Alliance decided to start creating 1-month teacher training courses and making people suddenly become experts in teaching yoga when really all they learned was a little bit of something and a little bit of something else from someone who learned a little bit of someone who learned a bit of someone from Iyengar or Patabi Joyce 20 or 30 years ago. And so this means that now modern yoga to me doesn't look like the yoga of Patabi Joyce or Iyengar or any sort of yoga at all. Often modern yoga looks more like what I call the aerobics of the 21st century, and it's more like a workout. And for me, yoga was about a work in, not a
Mhm.
workout.
Right.
Workout, you always say, is something where at the end of the practice you have less energy, more need for sleep, more need for food, often more pain. But a workout should be something that at the end of the practice you have more energy, less need for food, less need for sleep,
Yeah.
and actually much less pain. That's what to me I was learning from my first teachers, and so that's what I still practice today is yoga.
Well, you touched upon a couple of things here, and the first one that obviously tweaks me at times is the Yoga Alliance, which went from what was essentially a yoga telephone book. It was meant to be a directory, right, where people could look up people and see what kind of training they had done, to becoming some sort of authoritative voice in the world of yoga with really, anyway, no real background, which is shocking enough. The other observation I'd like to make is that I talk about merging the two systems. It's been very interesting to me to see over the years how many senior um, Ashtanga people have spent quite a bit of time in the Iyengar world because they saw the benefit of the alignment base, which I've always thought is quite interesting because to me, the two of those practices merge beautifully together if you understand them both.
Yes. Yeah, 100% agree. If they, Iyengar and Bhattabi Joyce both had the same teacher as Krishnamacharya. They had the same common origin. They were teaching and practicing similar things at different times in their life. And
Mm.
so they can be put together very, very comfortably. But
Yeah.
it's the limitation of the Western mind that causes the problem, and the competitive nature of people, and also just the greediness of wanting too much. And not, it's the paradigm of the West. These ideas which have no place in modern yoga, like survival of the fittest. If you're good, you're going to go to heaven. If you're bad, you're going to go to hell. There's no free lunch, no pain, no gain. These sort of things are being applied, maybe subconsciously, in modern yoga practices, but really they're no part of yoga at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, um, setting up this sort of next scenario of kind of where you think the state of yoga is and it perhaps going, because look, everything in life is an evolution in its own right. I mean, things do change, they evolve, not necessarily for the better all the time, but they do change and they evolve, right? I'm just going to shift my position because I'm getting blinded by the light, which is interesting because now we have spring, which is delicious in so many ways. And I just realized where I was. I was getting absolutely blinded by the light coming in. So where I was going with that is because the masters that we know, that we may have grown up, certainly that you have grown up, have all passed away now, right? That they're no
Yes.
longer, and even to the extent that now their heir apparents are no longer with us, right? Which is tragic in terms of the passing of Sharath recently. But even in the Iyengar world, there really is no heir apparent, right? So, blessed in one way that we had this opportunity to experience these wonderful teachers. Where do you see, one, where do you think the state of yoga is at this point in time? And two, where do you think it might be going?
Look, I'm hopeful. I see changes in many of my students. I teach all around the world, and I have many young students who have taken on board the types of things that I'm sharing, which to me are coming from the traditional teachings that I was really happy to receive from these great masters and other similar people. And so I'm hoping that it will change.
Mm-hmm.
And what I also see is the mentality that many people adopt in the world of modern yoga only allows a very short-lived practice time.
Mm.
So although it's popular, although the press publicizes it and the media publicizes modern yoga to be a good thing, especially what you see on social media, most people, I mean, the statistics are fairly clear. If you invite 200 people to come to a modern yoga class, 100 people will not come just by hearing the word yoga itself, because the word yoga for many people is now a dirty word for many people.
Yeah.
And then of the 100 people that arrive in their first class of any type of modern yoga, 50 will never come back after the first class because it just doesn't work for
Mm-hmm.
them. And then of the 50 that remain in the first class, there'll only be maybe 5 left by the end of the first year. So in other words, only 1 in every 20 people attempting their first modern yoga class or vinyasa flow or whatever else you might call modern yoga, only 1 in 20 people will accept it over the space of a year and actually maintain it as a part of their practice. And usually of those 1 in 20, most of those people will embark on a teacher training course. Some will
Right.
teach, some will not. But then their longevity is very minimal. They won't usually be still doing it within 3 or 4 years. So I think just the popularity will be here for a little bit. Then people will realize that if they only want strength or flexibility, then there are other ways of getting strength or flexibility which are better. Calisthenics, go to the gym, intelligent movement-based sciences are there.
Yeah.
Many people are putting these movement-based science knowledges into modern yoga, but it's becoming too competitive. And, if you make it all about strength and flexibility, then the best and quickest way to create a strong, flexible body is to put yourself into a state of flight or fight. So you basically make the body work till failure. And, maybe it's a 9 repetition maximum weight training, or maybe taking the body to a range of movement or flexibility level where you feel the body starts to feel a bit of pain or a bit of stretch, all of which produces an internal state of flight or fight, which is the state of sympathetic nervous system dominance. And unfortunately, this state leads to a lot of problems in your immune system, your digestive system, your reproductive system. So basically, the type of practices most people are doing are turning off your organs of longevity. And at the same time, when you're entering a state of sympathetic dominance, where you're feeling, more than normal breathing, heart racing, stretching and tensing, which is what most people's practice does, then you also end up having the subconscious dominant emotions subconsciously of fear, anger, aggression, lack of safety, lack of trust. And this doesn't sound like yoga to me.
Right.
To me, what we want for real yoga is to encourage healthy blood flow, which I call good energy flowing through your body.
Mm-hmm.
But the healthy blood flow is that where the blood flows easily, but the heart rate's very slow. So for example, you are someone who's got a healthy body. You're the same age as me. We're in our seventh decade, my God, 60 something. And so, you're probably like me where you can walk out into the Canadian wilderness and someone will say, aren't you cold? You've only got a t-shirt on. And you go, it's okay. I've got good circulation. Good circulation is like the Tibetan yogi who I remember seeing pictures of Tibetan yogis, and I had a Tibetan master in my teens, and they would demonstrate sitting naked in the snow.
Yeah.
So to me, meditation is not just sitting still doing nothing, covering yourself with blankets, getting cold and bored. Meditation, aka yoga, is about encouraging blood flow so you can sit in a cold room and not feel cold because blood is circulating. But you are completely relaxed. For most people, the way they get blood circulating is by making the heart race. If the heart's racing, the body thinks you're under stress. You're running away from an enemy. So what we really want for health, happiness, and longevity, and what I think yoga was really offering, was the possibility of two seemingly opposite things coming together. Blood flowing effortlessly through the body, which gives you good energy, but also this parasympathetic dominant state where you feel rest, rejuvenation, relaxation, regeneration, and the dominant emotions will be peace, love, safety, a sense of trust in yourself and your environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I call that sharing good energy and loving information through your body. And when you do this inside yourself, you have a model for how you are in the world. And I think the world would be a better place if people adopted this type of paradigm in their practice so there could be this type of way in the world.
Well, absolutely. And I find it interesting, and just to step back a second, when we were talking about the Iyengar system or the Ashtanga system, it required that you studied that methodology for a long period of time, right? That you had to immerse yourself in these practices for years, right? Maybe even decades to some extent, right?
Yes, yes.
And that to me doesn't exist anymore, right? It's no longer there. And as a factor of that, what I think I see is happening, and has been happening for quite some time, is in a practice that ultimately is about being aware, right? Aware of all the things that you just described, right? About being aware. Nobody's aware of what they're doing because they're just overly consumed at getting better, right?
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
to me, there's a very different thing about evolving and getting better, right? Like,
Yeah.
the sort of paradigm of when can I get the next pose? When can I get the next pose? Well, that is to me the complete antithesis of awareness or being in self, right? And unfortunately, part of that is because everybody's in a massive rush. I'm not sure, really sure what they're in such a rush about, but their rush is, to your point, shortening your life. It's not lengthening their life.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because when you see in the Bhagavad Gita, where they made the first mention of the word yoga, it was Arjuna, who was about to go into battle to kill his relatives potentially. He's talking to Arjuna, to Krishna, and Krishna, who's his charioteer at the time, says, Karmani evadi karaste. He says, don't be attached to the fruits of your actions. Be rather engaged in those actions themselves. Don't be
Exactly.
attached to either success or failure, but don't
Right.
become attached to laziness. He says it's this balance, this equanimity that we call tarantara yoga. And from this, the modern idiom, the modern adage comes, which says it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Right.
And that's a very modern Western thing now, but it's coming from that yoga world of understanding that it's not about a future goal. It's about finding yourself to be happy as you are now.
Right. And the other concept is literally the practice is learning to get away from yourself so you can discover yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
about an evolving, of self-discovery, evolving
Right.
path of
But
self-discovery.
you can't possibly get there if you're perpetually in this ego-based scenario of getting better.
Yes.
It,
Yes. If you
it's
want therapy, if you want strength or flexibility, then you don't want yoga because you should be happy with how you are to a certain extent. Now, it's
yeah,
not to say it's wrong that strength,
no,
flexibility, and health can come as a byproduct of yoga. But if that's your
100%.
aim, you miss the here and now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to, people to misunderstand me. That's a very valid point. The practice itself was ultimately about your mind. The side benefits of the physicality and this and that are phenomenal, but they weren't the primary reason.
Yes. Yep. That's
So
exactly right.
tell everybody a little bit about, because I mean you've been not only studying with yoga masters, but some Asian masters as well. But besides all of that, you've also created a system that is, I'm going to say, it's a new paradigm. I think that's a fair way of phrasing it, right? So tell people about what you've discovered about the body and movement and what you're doing and why you feel it is a more beneficial place to be in terms of how to practice.
Okay. Yeah. I think sometimes people see what I'm sharing online and they go, he's not teaching yoga. What's that he's doing? And sometimes people see this. Just to let people know, I still teach Ashtanga yoga. I
Mm-hmm.
still teach Iyengar yoga. I love these practices. But as I alluded to earlier on, they're not suitable in the way they're presented normally for all people.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've tried to do and what I'm still doing, based on what I've been learning over the last 40 years, is find a system where you can apply a simple set of protocols and make it work for anyone. So I believe that everyone has a truth they're presenting, especially all the great masters. And I was fortunate enough to have great teachers from Tibet when I was a teenager, obviously many from India, many from China, Thailand, Japan. My first teacher training course was a Japanese teacher training course, back in the early 1980s, plus my understanding from Western medical science. And so what I did was I went right back to the roots of all the different systems I've learned, including martial arts, qigong, dance, gymnastics, physiotherapy, etc., as well as yoga, and went, what is the common origin of all these practices? What things do they all say the same? What things all work in all systems? And I started to bring all of that together, and that's the basis of my system that I teach now. And I can teach it in its very simplistic, tiniest simple form for everyone. But then if someone wants to be a yoga teacher, then I can take that and I can extend it right into yoga. Or if someone wants to do martial arts, I can take it to martial arts. Or if someone just needs therapy, I'll take it to therapy. But the essence of this system, if I had to maybe talk about the basic principles, is that all of them talk about the need for connection.
Mm-hmm.
All of them talk about this idea that we are all connected as one,
Yeah.
maybe as one loving consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and that the best way to create this connection is to start within yourself. And to make it happen best inside yourself, you have to connect the thinking brain in your head with what we call in the West the gut brain at your core.
Mm-hmm.
So the gut brain is the euphemistic term for the enteric nervous system, which is a large plexus or network of nerves residing wrapped around your intestines, your internal organs, between the navel and the pubic bone, between your tailbone and your top of your hips, inside. And in China, they have a very common name which people know about called the Dantian.
Yeah.
In Japan, they talk about it as the Hara. But in India, there's also a name for it, which many people don't know. It's a name which is the Kanda. And the Kanda, Kanda, is, according to the old text, the origin of 72,000 nadis
Right.
or subtle channels.
Mm-hmm.
And nadis are subtle channels, they're like nerves, so really it resonates with this enteric nervous system concept. And that's where all movement should start from. Now, in the West, in modern physiotherapy, they also talk about engaging the lower abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
And when people start talking about engaging the lower abdomen, that's meaning move from your core. And so what I teach is move from your core, don't lock the core, breathe from your core. And that means basically you can breathe in any part of your body, but you have to still feel your diaphragm working at the same time. Because when you really breathe in your core, if you were to place your hands into your lower abdomen and then inhale, it should feel like your lower abdomen is expanding.
Mhm.
But that should be happening whether you breathe into your chest, your throat, your back, anywhere. So at the same time as I'm breathing in my chest, which many people do in modern yoga, I'm feeling my diaphragm descend at the same time. And otherwise, if you're not doing that, what you're having is just a stressful chest breath, which actually puts you into flight or
Yeah.
fight. And so the concept of, get everything connected to your core means really move from your core, breathe from your core. If you're doing a resistance exercise, the resistance has to start from your core. And if you think about it, when we hear about what meditation actually is, they often use the expression meditation is when subject and object become one. So in your body, then, the subject is the thinking brain and the object is your gut brain. And when you can make them merge together, this is part of what they say about the Shiva and the Shakti connecting inside the body. The Shiva in your brain, the Shakti making the Kundalini rise from your enteric nervous system. This is related to all of this. And when the two of them work together, energy flow is very good. And also you have a sense of thinking in your brain, which is more logical, and feeling at your core, which is more intuitive. And reality, of course, is not based on just logic. Reality is based on a synthesis between intuition and logic. And, for any men out there, if you haven't worked it out already, women are often right. What doesn't seem logical to a man is intuitive to a woman. Reality is based on not just logic, but intuition as well. And even if you look at the cosmologists, when they talk about how the universe got created, they say, we can logically work it out. You just have to give us one miracle at the start, which is the Big Bang, where everything came out of nothing, and then we can explain the universe. And mathematics and all science is the same. We work on a series of assumptions and then work logically after that. And in your body, the intuitive assumption part of the body is your gut brain, your enteric nervous system, and then the logical thinking brain goes from there. But without the two working together, you have no ability to really get proper resonance. And that's what I
Well,
teach.
which is very interesting because I'm going to throw out a term here that I think that still incorporates what you're talking about, this sense of heart-brain coherence,
Yes.
which, which is also considered gut-heart-brain coherence, right? And when you're in alignment with your heart-brain coherence, in other words, the heart is leading this aspect. The heart has I think the figure is something where 100 times more magnetic frequency than the brain does, right? And the heart actually has more neurons in it than the brain does, right? And so we've been so consumed with being here when really everything is initiating from here or the gut, right?
Yes. Yes.
In
Yeah.
terms of bringing ourselves into a more harmonic, coherent balance, right? The other thing I just wanted to say, so there was no misunderstanding. I want to, Simon's not creating a new system. He's taking stuff and adding from his experience to make the experience a more pleasurable, beneficial practice that's more available to everyone. And to set context to this, because some people think sometimes when somebody's adding something, well, that's not yoga. Well, people understand that Krishnamacharya, who's the teacher of B.K.S. Iyengar and Patabi Joyce, taught and added English gymnastics and Indian martial arts to the practice because those were the things that were accessible to him in the Mysore Palace. So he was an innovator of adding things already. It wasn't simply just what people thought at the time as yoga.
Yes, indeed.
But
Indeed.
this whole concept of heart-brain coherence, I think, is a phenomenal thing in terms of it is really one of the, it's a very simple practice to some extent, but at the same time, this sense of calming and bringing you into a moment is incredibly powerful.
Well, can I talk a bit about that in that case?
Please.
Because,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
because most of us are stuck in the
Yep.
head and they're not connected to the body. And the purpose of yoga really is to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So when I teach, I talk about movement from the core, But
Mhm.
the core is really a tiny invisible spot. It's just a microcosm in the middle. And what we do is we work outward from that core. And I talk about the enteric nervous system as being in your lower abdomen, but really to function, we need the entire trunk. So
Right.
within the entire trunk, you have the lower trunk, which we call below the diaphragm. And I'll
Mhm.
call that the functional core. But then the upper trunk is basically connected to it. And so what I teach really is trunk movements, whereas a lot of people talk about, keeping a neutral spine and not moving your spine too much. It's becoming less prevalent now. People are talking about making spinal waves, etc. But you also have to use not just your spine, your chest muscles, your abdominal muscles. You have to manipulate your whole trunk. And the
Mhm.
thing is, when we talk about the heart, a lot of people think that the heart is the primary pump of blood through the body, whereas actually there are 11 other ways of moving blood through the body. And
Right.
in many old researchers, they talk about the heart as being less of a pump and more of a
I was going to say,
valve.
most people will tell you now in terms of regenerative health practices that the heart is not a pump.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a valve, right?
Yeah.
So when a lot of my practices are gearing towards working with the other 11 main pumps of blood through the body, and one of the main ones is your muscles of breathing,
Mm.
predominantly the diaphragm, but all the muscles of breathing work in concert, especially when you understand them. And so when I'm doing my spinal movements or my five-dimensional flow or whatever people would choose to call it, I call it five-dimensional flow because the core and the trunk can move in 5 different ways. But when I'm doing these movements, I'm not just isolating my core, I'm moving my whole trunk. And when I move in a very simplistic way, which I can teach to anyone, what happens is as the diaphragm goes up and down, which can be made very easy for anyone to do just by simply flexing and extending the hips in a regular way of coming up and then down with your hips, then that will make the heart rate change. So I can be standing, bend my knees a little bit, come back up, go back down, 6 seconds come up, 6 seconds going down, and my heart rate monitor will tell me that as I'm coming up, my heart rate goes 55, 65, 75, 65, 55, 45. And in the space of 6 seconds, I can go from 45 beats to 75 beats, repeat it regularly, and on a very, very subtle level, I'm breathing in and breathing out, ever so small that no one would notice.
Mm.
And so when you work with the core properly, you're also regulating your heart. And
Mhm.
so it depends which way you look at it, but certainly the heart, the whole trunk is more important than your arms and legs. Look at the obsession people have with hand balancers and
Yeah.
splits.
Yeah. No,
Really, you could cut off your arms, you could cut off your legs, you'd still be alive. But if you cut off your trunk, you're dead straight
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So I believe it's really important that we focus on what's happening in our trunk, to move it, to massage it, to manipulate it, not to just lock it and, pull the shoulders down and back, keep your core drawn in, keep the chest opened up, walk like a robot. This is an invitation to dysfunction and stress.
Yeah. No,
Move your trunk.
100%. 100%. And you're a walking testament to this because I mean you're an incredibly vibrant, passionate and active guy, right? I mean you're out there doing stuff all the time. Um, I just want to segue a little bit now into nutrition and what we eat. I know we're both plant based. I'm predominantly raw. I think you're predominantly raw. Tell everybody about how long that journey has been for you and what prompted you to go in that direction. What do you think the benefits are?
Ah, I have been, exclusively vegan for 40 something years,
Mm-hmm.
since the early 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I did because as a teenager, when I left home, I think I just lost all connection with food, just ate garbage, worked at a cinema, just ate chocolate and chips for a few years. And I got very sick
Yeah.
in my early 20s. And then I got told by doctors that I had to have colonic tests and barium enemas and maybe have surgery to move part of my intestines. I had the beginnings of diverticulitis and colitis. And I freaked out and went, no, I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was lecturing at university and I was lecturing doctors, young doctors, and so in my cocky early 20 mentality, I went, I don't need a doctor, I can look after myself. So I put myself on a number of different diets, which eventually culminated in long water fasts.
Right.
And I got sicker at first, but then eventually I got healthier and I sorted it out.
Uh,
But eventually I moved on to a very much fruit only diet for some
yeah.
years, and I could manage it. But the only reason I could manage it, and I think you'll relate to this, is because of the pranayama that I was doing.
Uh-huh.
So because my father had taught me all about breathing less, breathe less, breathe less, when you don't breathe so much, you build up a lot of carbon dioxide inside your body. And carbon dioxide is one of the most significant neurotransmitters.
Mm.
The way the modern world depicts it is carbon dioxide, is our enemy. It's destroying the ozone layer. Who knows what they say, but it's not really sensible. Carbon dioxide is our friend. And when you build up enough CO2 inside the body, your body becomes mildly acidic. And that gives you a lot of benefits because the blood vessels to the brain open up, your lung vessels open up, you get more oxygen from your lungs to your blood, you get a calmer nervous system, and also more oxygen enters your cells, so you have more energy. But what happened to me was also when that happens, then you become very acidic, which means you
Right.
can easily live off fruit because fruit's very alkalizing. So if you have an acidic type of breathing, which means don't breathe much at all,
Mm-hmm.
then you can have an alkaline diet, which is just living off fruit and salad and vegetables.
Yep.
It's easy. But what happened to me in the late 1980s was I'd been doing Ashtanga yoga for about 5 years in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun. I used to really enjoy it, but I did it my way. I did the postures, which were essentially the postures from Iyengar's book.
Yeah.
So pretty much the first time I tried Ashtanga Yoga, I could do most of it because I could do almost every posture in Iyengar's book at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So someone shows me Ashtanga, oh yeah, I can do that. And then 5 years later, I went to visit Mysore in 1989, and I saw what people were doing there. Great practitioners, lots of fun. Derek Ireland was there and other
Yep.
people like this. And I went, okay, maybe I should try this method. And part of that method seemed to be, let's just breathe a lot. And I go, oh, it doesn't seem right, but I'll try it. And so I tried it for a period of a few months. And what happened to me was I got massively hungry. And I suddenly had this desire to eat lots of rice.
Uh,
And it completely messed with my diet. And then I went, hold on, the science behind this doesn't make sense. Obviously, the more I breathe, the less I'll have CO2. The less CO2 means less acidity, more alkalinity. And that's causing more exhaustion, less blood to the brain. And it means I'm going to have to eat more. And what I'm eating is usually predominantly acidic-based foods.
right.
So I did this experiment in the early 90s and quickly realized this is not my path.
Mm.
I don't want to eat more food. The only proven diet is the eat less and you live longer diet.
Yep.
And so less calories means, I live off, fruit and salad. I have one meal a day usually.
Yep.
It's a big meal. It's predominantly fruit, salad, and sometimes I have some steamed vegetables. But,
Yep.
for the last 40 years, it's been at 95% raw.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense to me.
No.
But overbreathing causes dysfunction.
Yeah. No. 100%. Well, it's the lifestyle that I live, and it's the lifestyle that I recommend to clients that I work with. I mean, if you want to get healthy, one, fasting is a phenomenal thing. If you want to regenerate, you need to fast, you need to detox. Fruit is one of the most nourishing, detoxing, cleansing foods on the planet. That coupled with the right herbs for whatever glands or organs you're working on, you need to detox whatever it is because we live in a toxic society, whatever you've accumulated. And it's a very, very, very powerful practice, right? And it's also practice that I think, to me, where that leads to is there's no reason that we can't live as long as the ancients lived. I don't see why we can't be living to 150, 160. And when I say live, I mean live a active, vibrant, healthy, productive life.
My Chinese teacher has got two of his teachers. One of them is his grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
and he's 121 or 122 this year, I
Yeah,
think, in
yeah,
China. Rides his bicycle, does everything, gets called up by the government to give advice. In other cultures, seniors are respected.
yes, yes,
You know,
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So Simon, you're teaching all around the world, right? You're based in Australia, but you do workshops all over the world. Tell everybody what's coming up for you.
oh, okay. a few weeks, I'm heading off to Italy to teach a 1-month training in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I'm going to go to Malta, where I was born, to do a week's training there, then Berlin for a week, then Sweden for a week, then Paris for a week. Then I'm off to Hong Kong, Taiwan, and China. And then a bit after that, I go to South Africa, I go to Slovenia. Then toward the end of the year, I'm in Sri Lanka and then Bangkok. And I do retreats at my house also, which is in the northern rivers of near Byron Bay in eastern Australia. And I also have just started an online teacher training, which anyone can join to do just online, or they can use it to supplement my other trainings around the world to increase a 200-hour training to a 300-hour training or something like that. I love connecting online with people, and anyone can write to me, and I'll send you some free material. I'm happy to send things to people, and perhaps you can join me a bit more than that. But I've got lots of free material I'm happy to share as well.
Okay, so you're on the road pretty well to the end of the year.
Yes.
Okay, so that's it. Tell everybody about your online teacher training program.
It's lots of fun. I have on it, I do live sessions. At the moment, I'm doing them every week.
Yep.
And I'm just introducing everyone and just getting some sensations happening. But as I travel throughout the year, I'll be doing it once every 2 weeks from different locations around the world. But I also have 200 or 300 hours of online courses on my membership site, which they get access to all of that, and they get access to a whole bunch of special videos as well. But it's hundreds of hours of stuff that I've recorded, including my very comprehensive course on Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, courses on yoga therapy, courses on the applied anatomy and physiology of yoga, and a course called Yoga Fundamentals, which is the essence of intelligent vinyasa flow, where you can really share modern yoga with normal people. A couple of those courses I wrote with Bianca Matchless, my co-founder of Yoga Synergy, and we wrote them for a university level audience. So they were taught actually at RMIT University for the last 10 years, and they became the most popular courses at that university actually at the time. And so they're really good courses, very, professionally made. And I've made a whole bunch of other courses, including those on breathing, on joint therapy, on how to move blood through your body, on how to relieve back pain. All of these are available, plus hundreds of hours of practice sequences, practices of what I'll call modern yoga for the modern body, and also what looks more like Qigong or internal martial arts. But for me, it's still yoga. It's moving meditation,
So,
all this stuff. What's suitable for you?
all these courses are on your website, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so tell everybody what your website is.
Okay, you can easily find it by looking for my name, Simon Borg-Olivier, all as one word, or you could put the word 5-dimensional flow in, and 5dimensionalflow.com as one word with a letter 5 or the number 5 would come in as well.
Okay.
And you could find me that way.
All right.
Or, I think it's on my Linktree profile as well.
Okay, so then they can reach you on Instagram, and tell everybody what your handle on Instagram is, please.
It's just my name, Simon Borg-Olivier.
Okay, and are you on Facebook as well?
I am, yes, they could find me there.
Same thing. So basically just look up Simon's name, right? And that will direct you to either his website, Facebook, or Instagram. And within Instagram, he'll have a link tree, which will have all the links linking you again to his website. There is a immense amount of material there that is incredibly beneficial for those of you who, one, have been practicing for a long period of time and really want to kind of do a deep dive into the practice. It's also an amazing place for somebody who's just starting out to start out in the hands of somebody who is incredibly reputable and has spent the time, done the work, knows what he's talking about, and knows how to teach, and just a delightful guy to begin with. Okay, so if you're looking for a quality place to study with a quality person who's done the work over the last 45 years, knows what he's doing, please look up Simon, and you will not be disappointed, and you will find just some amazing information at your fingertips. So, having said that, Simon, it's always, you're one of my favorite people. You're one of my favorite people to talk to, and you're an absolute delight. Your energy is always spectacular. What would you like to leave us with?
Oh, well, my message is to enjoy your life. I think that's why we're here. Look after your body. That's the only one we've got. Use it to help other people enjoy their lives and make the world a connected place. Share good energy and loving information inside your body by doing practices where you have a pain-free, functional body, where blood flows easily without your heart racing, where you feel relaxed, energized at the same time. And then by sharing good energy and loving information inside your body, you have a model for how you are in the world and how you can treat the people around you. You know,
Right.
this is what I
One
think.
of the key things in life is, if you want to attract goodness, love, and positivity, then you need to embody goodness, love, and positivity. And if there's somebody who's got a shining heart out there who actually walks the talk, it's my friend Simon. So please look up
Oh,
Simon Olivier, and you won't be disappointed. Simon, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, which is a combination of delight and pleasure.
I like
It's
that word. I'm
always
going to buy it. I want a leisure today.
it's always a delight and a pleasure to connect with you. You have just phenomenal energy. You're a very brilliant guy, and you've done the work. And it's just an honor to know you and have these moments. So listen, thanks again, Simon. I'll make you a collaborator on this so that you can use the material however you would like. And please, everybody, check out Simon. You will not be disappointed.
And to all my students, please check out Michael, because I think you're amazing. What you do, and you inspire me so much. And actually, you look a lot better than I do. So whatever you're doing seems to work really well. So, you know, I'm very, very touched to be working with you, and I really care about you very much. Thank you very much for what you said, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Simon. From my heart to yours. Peace out. I will send you the information. Thanks again.
Bless you, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.